You're listening to World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world. And here are your hosts, Aingeal Rose and Ahonu.
Hi, I am Ahonu, and I want to welcome you on behalf of my lovely Aingeal Rose to this session that I'm still stuck for a name for, because in listening to it, I realized that I had realizations about love. And I went through many different names, possibilities for it, and you can see that I have them on a list here. And I was going to call it the 36th degree of love, and the color of love, and the choice for love, and does white light confirm love, and the potential of love, and all kinds of different names. And I eventually settled on realizations of love. Simple, clean, and that's exactly what it's about. Have a listen, and I hope you enjoy it.
So here's a realization on love. We all like to think that love is here on earth, in other words, in this incarnation, in our bodies, in our lives, in our families, on earth, that we experience love. But I had a realization that we have no idea what love is at all. We simply have not got a clue. We're grasping at straws when we think we know what love is. Because if you could even just conceptualize for a moment what the love of God must be like, what eternal love must be like, and what we experience as love here, they are as different as chalk and cheese, or one may just be the smallest aspect of it. Because if we did know what eternal love was, or the love of God was like in its eternalness, in its omnipotence, we would know what perfection is. And I think it's fair to say that in this incarnation, we don't know what perfection is. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So my realization is about the 36 colors of all aspects of ourselves. It's like each aspect of us, in a way, has a piece of the puzzle. Our purpose is the reunification of ourselves back to God, and therefore back to love. So if we only know what, let's say, 1/36th of love is like, that's what we're experiencing here, is just an aspect of love, which is beautiful, it's wonderful. When we feel in love, it's lightening, it's heartening, it's wonderful, it's gorgeous. We want to hold on to it. But it's like a will-o'-the-wisp too. It's hard to hold on to it. Sorrow comes in, death comes in, sadness comes in, and all of that. But when we start reunifying ourselves with the other aspects of us, then we begin to feel more love more strongly. And I'll talk about twins in a little bit too, how the unification of a pair of twins is stronger, but also has its own difficulties, but that's its own subject. But I want to talk about love now as being related to a color. As we know now, there are 36 colors. So in that way, it's very likely that there are 36 aspects of love, or 36 realizations of love, or 36 levels of love, let's call it. And we can only see one level of it, one aspect of it now in this incarnation. And like I talked about before, when we talk about the color red being on earth, and seeing red when you're developing prints in the old days of developing pictures, you turn on the red light in the laboratory, in the developer's room, in the dark room they called it, so as to see the negative. In the same way, there's an aspect of love that can only be seen with the red color on earth, and that's the level of love that we're seeing here.
But you do see the rainbow, so you do see 7 colors here.
You do see 7 colors here, but I've had some realizations about that haven't crystallized yet. I am not completely clear about why that is the case. And I have some ideas, but they're not gelled enough to make sense of them. And I will ask that question the next time we go in to do this. It has something to do with us knowing an aspect of God, the totality. It is an aspect of us knowing that all these levels exist, and we pull an aspect of it here. It's like the thread that connects us. We know that God exists, let's say, but can we embody it? Can we feel it in its totality? It's like when you go into the dark room and you put on the red light, you see yourself better. You see what you're composed of, but you can see that it's negative. You can see the negative in the dark room when you're making these pictures. You can see what you're made of. And in the physical world, red is the color of creation. So it's not that you're not composed of all the colors. Everybody is, in the same way as everybody is composed of God. But it's a tiniest little sliver. It's the slightest little, it's even very difficult to put words on it. It's like a taste. You can have a taste in your mouth, but it's not the real thing. Or you can have an image in your mind, but it's not the real thing. Or you can have an idea in your head, but it's not the real thing. So in the same way, there's these colors of the totality of the 36 of God, of eternal life, but it's not the real thing. Here, we can't realize it. It's here, but it's just wisps of it. In the same way as when you fall in love, for example, you might get a sense of what the greater love feels like. The joy and the exhilaration and the exuberation and the wonder of it all. But can you hold on to it? Can you keep it? Can you embody it? It's very difficult. For most people anyway. So in that way, sure, we have all the colors here, but they're just ideas. They're very hard to enjoy every one of them in their wholeness. So in us, in our job, in our purpose of reunifying all aspects of ourselves, all these 36 aspects of ourselves, it's very likely it can be done through the colors. But we'd have to identify what the 36 colors are. The white light would contain them all. So when we identify what each of these 36 colors are, like for example, let's use the analogy of the dark room, and it's interesting, it's called the dark room. Going into the red identifies the physical and the negativity on the planet Earth creation. But let's say if we went into the orange, which would be another room, and there's an aspect of ourselves in there. What's that aspect of ourselves doing in the orange? And equated to the chakra. Equated to the chakra, what that chakra is doing in the body. What's it about? Is it about creation, procreation? Is it about an expansion out of the red? Out of the physicality? And if we explored that, we'd find an identity of ourselves right there that wants to stay there too, in the same way as all the others want to stay there, like the child playing in the forest or whatever. Doesn't want to come home from there because it's having its own fun, it's having its own reality, it's having its own realizations. But when we go there and merge with that, now we are two. And the 2 out of the 36 is like the merging of the twins. It's doubled in terms of its potential. It's stronger than the one color on its own. And I venture to say that the more we do that and join these colors together, like red, orange, yellow would be stronger than just red on its own. Stronger in terms of its light quotient. Stronger in terms of its realizations now, because it's merging the realizations of the red aspect, and they're all sound tone frequencies too. And this is where working with the chakras is an absolutely wonderful thing to do, because it's the beginning of the merging of all these aspects of ourselves who don't want to come home because of their own ego identities in those aspects. But when they feel and see the merging, and feel and see and experience that initial unification of just those few, then the momentum builds to unify the rest. And I'd venture to say that that happens after 12 of them have been unified. So out of the 36, it would seem to me to be 3 phases. You have a 12, a 24, and a 36 phase. The 36 obviously being unification with God itself, the complete and total eternal experience of total joy and love. But the 12 is significant as being the first level. That's where the Jesus understanding of the 12 apostles and the 12 months of the year and all the 12s, that's where the 12 kicks in. And that's where a momentum starts. That's where a real move towards unification begins. And obviously then the work begins to unify the 13th and the 14th. And then the 24th is where another surge comes, another great feeling of the unification is happening. The merging is beginning. It's getting so strong now it's almost inevitable that the desire of each aspect now is on a propulsion towards home. The journey is like the prodigal son is coming home now, prepared away, because the feeling is, I'm coming home. And it's a beautiful thing, it's a joyful thing. And one thing I want to say about it also is, this is not death. This is actually life itself. This is not death. This is not a case of, oh, I'm going to lose my body, because each aspect of ourselves in each of these places is giving up the belief in its own ego is all that's happening. And it's coming home to unity. And the fear of death is being removed from each of these aspects of itself. This is what overcoming death is. And this is what overcoming reincarnation is also, because reincarnation is only that desire to stay in a body and come back in a body and come back into the experiences of the red 3D life, which is only a tiny aspect of the whole. So our purpose is to experience each of the 36 chakras now. 36 chakras. There must be, because if each resonates with a color, and there are 36 colors, it would make sense that we must journey through 36 chakras. We must journey through 36 colors. We must journey through 36 aspects of ourselves to arrive at unity. And I say journey to us as humans, or in the English language, insinuates almost an effort. And I can see how that would be, because the way we have segmented or fragmented these aspects is that we don't want to do this. We don't want to do this. We're enjoying the individuation. And so therefore, the journey is an effort. But it comes back to what Aingeal Rose said about it being a choice. Do you want to make this choice? Does each aspect of these children of us want to make this effort? Do we want to make this choice? Or do we want to stay as we are and keep playing in the outer fringes of fragmentation? I do. But I've got to go and ask each aspect of myself, does it want to make this choice too? Because it's only when all 36 aspects of ourselves have made this choice to say, yes, I want to go home to God, to God's self, that reunification will take place and we will experience the total joy of God love.
I hope you enjoyed that. We'll be back with more next week. Thanks and bye-bye.
You have been listening to Aingeal Rose and Ahonu on World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world.